Hey friends, I'm Jess Connolly. I'm an author, a coach, a Bible teacher, and a local church leader, and I love talking to real people who know what it means to have full lives, but also want to walk in abundance. This podcast is for you. It's not my podcast, it's ours. It's for people who crave lighthearted conversations and deeply spiritual truth. It's for people who are busy, tired, waiting, growing, dreaming, working, or praying about what's next. Wherever you're listening from, if it's quiet, mundane, or busy, I am praying for you, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's go. In a world that glorifies productivity and hustle, hobbies can feel like a luxury or even a waste of time. But what if hobbies are actually tools that help us feel most fully alive and awake? What if a well-developed hobby might help us stay healthy or experience more joy in the midst of really difficult seasons? I'm beginning to learn that hobbies are a gift from God, a way to connect with Him and ourselves, find rest, and even encounter joy. Hobbies remind us that we're more than what we produce or achieve. We're human beings, designed for both work and play. Let's go. Welcome to the podcast again, Nikki.
Thank you.
Nikki, you're an often requested guest. People love when you come on the show, and I love when you come on the show.
Well, I love being here.
Well, you are such a natural fit for this episode. So I want to just set the scene. I want to just set the stage. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I am not a hobby expert. I would be being disingenuous if I was like, let me tell everybody how to develop a good hobby, because I'm not a hobby girl, but I want to be. I've dipped my toe into the waters. But you, I feel like, are a hobby expert.
I took a look at a list of hobbies.
Yeah.
Last night, I was looking through them and I'm like, I think I've done every single one of these hobbies.
I love that.
I really like trying new things.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm an expert, but I love hobbies.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, we have some things we want to get through, but I just want to start by saying, again, my hands are in the air. I'm confessing I'm not a good hobby girl. I actually do think this has been a problem in my life. So I have this story I wanted to tell. I don't remember a lot of the details about it, but this is how long ago it was. It was 2016, I believe. The year was 2016, maybe 2015. I can't remember which one. And my first book, Wild and Free, had just come out. And Bright City was like a new youngest church. And a bunch of gals got together and they were like, hey, we're going to do a Wild and Free book club. Do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, I'll just come reread it with you guys. And so I don't remember how we got here, but if you haven't ever read Wild and Free, it's the very first book I wrote, and I wrote it with my friend, Haley Morgan. And I wrote all the chapters about being wild, which is essentially about like being who God created us to be. And she wrote all the chapters about freedom. And we used to joke that I was like the wildest person we knew, and she was like the freest person we knew.
Yeah.
And I would say over time, we learned from each other. But at the time, I would say even when Wild and Free came out, there were a lot of like free things that I didn't embody. So somehow in this book club, as we're reading the book that I wrote, helped write, we got to some passage in the book. I don't even remember what passage in the book, but it was definitely from one of Haley's writings. And it was from a passage in Ecclesiastes that was essentially just saying like, you know, the twistiest things that I think Ecclesiastes says, basically just like you should just enjoy your life. Like you should just have fun and drink wine and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Which is literally in Ecclesiastes. And I remember it started this discussion in the book club and everybody was like, yeah, isn't that it at the end of the day? I just remember having this really visceral response sitting in this book club circle thinking, I do not agree.
Right. Yeah.
Because I actually think that life is about mission and getting ahead and helping people and fixing things. And like the world's burning down and like, don't we want to just spend every waking minute we have making it better?
Yeah.
And I remember not wanting to express that because they all seemed to be in agreement. But I also want to just confess that at that time of my life, I was so mission minded to the detriment that I remember, I'm just confessing, I'm pretty embarrassed. Okay.
Don't be embarrassed.
I remember thinking like anyone who had a hobby was frivolous.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking even so much that I like really judged people. This is embarrassing. Who spent time working on their yard.
Oh, yeah. Because
I was like,
why are you spending your time?
Do that?
Yeah.
Like, why would you spend time working on plants? And I thankfully don't think I expressed those feelings. I just kept my prideful, icky thoughts inside. And I want to just say how God has grown me in the year of our Lord 2025. I can't wait to work in my new yard.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have a weekend where I maybe just work in my yard.
Absolutely.
And I've really begun to understand that if I don't have hobbies, if I don't have things that are kind of frivolous,
yeah,
don't have a point to them, except for my enjoyment, I will die.
Yeah.
I'll burn out. I won't be nice. So that being said, for anyone who maybe hit play on this episode and you thought going in like, I don't want to hear anybody talk about hobbies because we don't need hobbies. I hear you, sister.
Yeah.
I used to be like you too.
I think I've also had moments where I am doing a lot of hobbies, feeling like a little free, like you said. But I've also had seasons where going to school, I'm doing work, and then everything, like I've felt the burnout from not having the hobbies and not doing the things. So, yeah.
Well, and for context about Nikki, what you guys should know about Nikki is she's not a sloth. You know what I'm saying? She gets stuff done. She's a mission-minded woman. She's a worship leader. She works at Go and Tell Gosh. She runs her own business. Like you do, you're a coach. You do a lot of things.
Yeah, I fight to have hobbies.
Yeah, it's not like you are just chilling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, I would like to hear if you were going to list your current hobbies. What are they?
My current hobbies, I would say the plants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a yard worker per se, but I do have a lot of house plants and I enjoy taking care of them and, you know, cloning them into new little plants and giving them to people and all of that.
You're a scientist.
Maybe. It's a lot of trial and error, but I love doing that. It's very life-giving. Anything that's crafty or creative or artistic, that's part of my coaching, but also in my free time, I like doing crafty things. Like this winter, I did seashells and made them into ornaments using decoupage and did that on my own and as well as through my coaching. But, you know, I get to do it on my own too, which is nice. So anything that's creative, painting, drawing, anything craft related, reading. I love reading. My thing right now is on my commute to work and home, I listen to a book. So
can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
Is it fiction or nonfiction or does it matter?
Right now, I would say fiction because I've read a lot of nonfiction and I needed to step out of that a little bit because it was a lot of self-development and all those things. And it was turning into work instead of creative. So I have changed it up and it has been also very life-giving. And then another thing is I like to do hobbies with my husband, like take a day trip, find a restaurant or a coffee shop or just activity in a close by town that we can go to. And we love doing that. So I would say that's travel. We like traveling afar, but we also like checking things out nearby. So I'd say those are the current hobbies that I enjoy.
I love that so much. Okay, this is my current list of hobbies that are not extensive, but I want to develop. I would say working out, exercise, home decor.
Ooh, yeah.
And planning.
Yeah.
Pottery.
Yes.
Which I talked a little bit about in last fall's episode on creativity might save your life. And also running. I'm trying to get back into running as of this morning.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I was trying that too, but I didn't show up for a morning run.
It's okay. But like runners know, like when you've done it, I don't know. Some people are like this. I think you and I are both a little bit like this. Like I'll go through a season of intense running.
Yeah.
It's my whole life. And then I will take a long break off.
Yes.
So I took almost a whole year off. I think I only ran like 3 or 4 times in a year. And now I know one run back, like, okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah, that's real. I am that way with running. It's like fitness, I kind of don't categorize as a hobby in my life, but running, like there's different elements within fitness. Yeah. Running is a hobby. It comes and goes in my life.
Yeah.
But I feel like I need to get that first run back in too.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. Okay, so let's just start with point one. Why are hobbies healthy? So I'm going to give research and then I want you to give expertise because I'm saying things that I haven't always lived out well and my hands are in the air, but this is what I know to be true because of the research I've done, that there is actual science behind being a hobby girl, that they reduce stress, they boost creativity, they improve mental health. Here are some statistics for you. Participating in leisure activities has been shown to lower stress, not only lower stress, but approximately 75% of hobby participants experienced reduced cortisol levels, which is our primary stress hormone, after engaging in different types of creative hobbies. Hobbies are also statistically shown to improve cognitive function, to lead to better illness outcomes. People who engage in hobbies have better cardiovascular health overall. They have decreased depression and increased mental health.
That's amazing.
It's real.
The illness outcome,
was wild.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's pretty wild. So all that being said, they just are good for you. They just are good. They're, Ecclesiastes is real.
Yeah.
There's a rhythm to work and rest, and how we play and how we enjoy God's creation and how we do leisure matters. It actually matters.
Yeah. I feel like hobbies are a part of our overall wellness. They affect our mind, body, our soul, all of the things. And just over the years, I went to school for education. And one of the things I did was help adults with disabilities. I helped out in an art class that was for adults with disabilities. And I saw how healing it was for all kinds of people in all kinds of situations, and just how doing an art project for an hour.
Yeah.
You could check out.
Yeah.
It's not even check out, but you're exercising a different part of your brain. And so seeing that and then just exercising it in my own life has really been life-changing. I say hobby, in my mind, I think hobbies are trying something new in a low-pressure environment.
Come on.
So you are in this space of being challenged, but it is low pressure. You're not trying to make money. You're not trying to impress anyone. So that is what I define hobbies as personally. And so I think not only is it, I like to rest your mind and your body, but it also challenges your mind and your body.
Yeah.
But also I feel like hobbies you into community, which is so important. And I think that's probably also where that illness outcome, depression outcome, it connects you in community. I will say I've met so many people that I would have met in my life if I hadn't stepped out and tried hobbies. People are always like, when I talk to you, it sounds like you've lived 100 lives. And I'm like, it's because I'm trying a lot of random things and meeting a lot of people and having life experiences that I wouldn't have had if I just stayed in my rhythms of home and work. So I think it's really, really important for that, meeting new people.
That's so good. I want to come back to that in a second when we talk about finding a hobby that fits you. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. But I want to tell you, as we've been talking about this, two things that I think might be really, really, really important for people to hear who would not say they're hobby girls. Okay. Yeah. Two massive benefits that I think even just entering into this conversation, actually, I have three things. Number one, it fights defeat. I think for those of us who say I would never, I couldn't have time, that won't work for me, you don't understand my life, to kick the enemy in the teeth by saying actually, let me see where I can find 10 minutes to sketch for a little bit. That's huge. The mental clarity and emotional strength that comes with being someone that says I won't just actually accept that. I'll try to figure it out. Yeah. That's huge. I would say number two, the fighting perfectionism.
Yeah.
The people I know, including myself in different seasons, who are the most tightly wound, who struggle the most with stress, who feel the most pressure, they don't know how to be bad at things.
Yeah.
Or they don't know how to be beginners at things. And on the flip side, the seasons in my life where I've felt very free and very humbled and very released and very much like a daughter of God and not cog in a wheel are the times when I've learned that it's okay to be bad at something.
Yeah.
And then here's my third thing. I think the other thing is I think that I just want to speak to anyone who would say, I don't know what mine will be.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know what I like. I don't know what I would like. Guess what? That action of figuring out what you like will help you access desire, which will actually be good for your somatic needs. We talked about this a couple episodes ago in the episode Back in My Body, but also for your spiritual desire, learning to access spiritual desire. All of that is going to make you healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, like, in seasons where I'm feeling low or feeling just sort of not myself, I can look at my calendar and I can see I'm not accessing that, that I'm not doing anything outside of my work or something I'm going to get paid for or something that is measured. So accessing that desire is really important. And I was thinking about it when I was driving in today. The one thing that a question we ask at Go and Talk when we're coaching someone is like, name 3 things that fire you up. And sometimes you can take that really deep and it can go into, all kinds of things. But what are 3 things that fire you up? And that can help you access that desire to know what kind of hobbies could I step into? Because it is going to look different for everyone. Not everyone's going to want to learn a new instrument tomorrow. That might not be life-giving. It might be like painful for you, but you may want to go outside, like you said, and sketch for 10 minutes or write for 10 minutes or something that is going to be a release for you. Yeah,
so good. Next, I want to talk about finding a hobby that's for you. And I'm going to tell you some things that I'm curious about, some ideas that I have. And then I might need a little live coaching because I have some questions for you. Okay. So there's that phrase that people always say, like, if you work with your mind, you should rest with your body. And if you work with your body, you should rest with your mind, that kind of thing. So I have found for me, because I work with my mind and a lot of my work is strategic, that a great way for me to rest, for me to feel like at ease, is to be in my body. So I was actually glad to hear you talk a little bit about like exercise, because I wanted to make sure it's okay that that's my hobby.
It is.
Because I will say, for me, exercise is not about making my body better. It's not about like making anybody happy. But coming up with a new fun workout is really life-giving for me. It feels like a treat. It feels like a dessert. Like, I'm going to like research these new weird moves to do in the gym, Or for example, last week when I made a graphic for our team of like, hey, here's our running plan for the spring. No pressure, but like planning the run and like, and making it cool and like branding it was fun for me. That felt like a hobby. So I'd love for you to speak into that piece. But in general, like, health stuff is so interesting to me, which also reminds me, you and I were talking about this earlier. I was telling you that I am obsessed with Magic Mind.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You were telling me you wanted to try them.
I do. I really want to try it.
Okay. So for example, researching things like Magic Mind, that is actually so fun for me.
Yeah.
So I literally went to Magic Mind and said, hey guys, I like your product so much. Can I be a Magic Mind ambassador? Magic Mind, they make these little energy shots. They're like 2 to 3 ounces. They taste very good. They're made of like matcha. They are literally so good. They're great for your mind, for your mental health and mental clarity, etc. Anyways, you guys, I just wanted to tell you, FYI, because I was telling Nikki earlier and she wanted to try one. I love Magic Mind. I love taking them. I love taking them like in the afternoon instead of having afternoon coffee, which I told you guys is one of my goals this year. But I went to them and asked if I could give you guys a discount, and they said yes. And I was so pumped. So actually, we'll put a link in the show notes. I'll ask my team to put a link in the show notes. You can get 20% off for a one-time purchase of Magic Mind. But if you just use the code JessC20 at magicmind.com, JessC20, you can get 20% off the one-time purchase or 48% off of subscriptions. I got a subscription.
Ooh, that's amazing.
So I just have them keep shipping them to me. They're so good. Anyways, researching stuff like that is so interesting to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I actually thought about it. For example, I was going to ask you, can using ChatGPT be a hobby? Because you know how I feel about ChatGPT. I love it so much. But then I realized, I think what I like about ChatGPT is I like learning.
100%.
You know?
Yep.
I like figuring out, and almost always I'm researching health stuff.
And seeing how how ChatGPT is going to answer you.
Yes.
I mean, it's all very interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
That could be your hobby. Yeah. Why not?
Okay. Because I would also say for me, reading fiction is a hobby, but it feels actually usually more restful.
Yeah.
But reading nonfiction that doesn't have anything to do with my work is really interesting to me. Okay. So I wanted to ask you about that. How do you feel about the work with your hands, rest with your body? But here's the other piece I wanted to ask you about because you mentioned community. Correct me. Tell me I'm wrong. You can say it live on air.
Okay.
But does this same rule apply as far as like, if you do this for work, do this alone? Because I will say, I do think I like a solo hobby.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
Okay.
I think for me, I had social anxiety and all these things that I needed to push out to push myself to go do hobbies. So I needed that challenge. But there's also my plants in my house and the reading, like listening in my car, that are those solo activities because I'm also an introvert. So I need to feed both of those things that are a part of me.
Yeah.
So there's those times when I'm like, I have done all the people things I can do.
Yeah.
I have been somewhere every night. I have done all of these things. I have talked as much as I can. So I need to have that solo activity. Okay. And then there's the activities where I still feel like I'm getting outside of my regular rhythms, but I am meeting people and having different life experiences. I think both are important.
Okay, that's encouraging.
Depending on what your needs are.
Okay.
In a particular season too.
All right. I want to give this insight also for anyone who might be trying to develop a hobby. I want to tell you something even more interesting, like not even more interesting, but even more minute to this conversation. Something I literally just realized about myself because I am with people most of the week. I think I like to do hobbies alone. I think I like for them to be like body or health related just because it feels, I don't know, it feels like autonomous. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not really sure. It's in my body, etc. Here's another one. I just realized it took me months to figure out something that was stressing me out. And I would get stressed at the same point in the week, every single week, on my day off, on Fridays. Nick and I, we have the same gym routine on our day off. We go to cold plunge at 9 a.m. and we go to work out at 10 a.m. And it took me months to realize that because that is the only day of the week that I don't have to like rush out the door. I don't have like a really scheduled day. That it sounds crazy, but like getting up and out into the gym by 9 a.m. was actually kind of difficult.
Yes.
Because it was the one day I could really like drop Cannon off at school and sit and like read my Bible. Yeah. And I can't because I have to immediately go find my workout clothes, pack my gym bag, etc. So I told Nick, I think that I realized something about me because our days are so intensely scheduled that I think I need to do hobbies unscheduled. So for example, even with pottery, I decided I kind of had two options about continuing to learn about pottery, that I could take a class or I could get a membership. And if I get the membership to my pottery place, I can go in whenever I want.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be important for me because even I'm not the kind of person who's like, I hate a schedule. I love a schedule, but 5 days out of our week are hyper scheduled.
It's your only day to be flexible.
Yeah. So I think even my hobbies, I need chill.
Yeah.
Not
That's
on a
real.
time crunch.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel that way often about workouts where I schedule them and I get really stuck in that routine. And then I have this like Saturday comes. You've seen my ideal week right now. I think I sent Saturday on there. Saturday, I have a workout in the morning. But I have to know that has to be a flexible day because some days I'm going to get up and I'm going to want to go get coffee with Tony and have a slow day because that's the actual only time we can do it.
Right.
So if I sign up for something that's like continual, it gives me anxiety and then I'm not looking forward to it anymore. So I think that is really healthy to have that flexibility. Your hobby has to be able to be life-giving and not be a thing on your schedule that you're like,
But maybe for people who are very flexible and don't have a lot of structure,
then they need to schedule
theirs needs to be structured. But that's the other thing I think I've realized about doing my hobbies with people is that knowing I have to be accountable to somebody else, even about my time off, is not life-giving to me. So then that's when I'm like, I really want to do it alone because I want to be able to be 5 minutes late. I want to be able to go when I go. I want to be able to say, like, you know what? I'm not going to go today.
Yeah.
You know?
I think for me, sometimes when I say meet people and I'm in community, it's complete strangers. So I'm actually going on my own and there's just other people there. So I'm not meeting one of my friends there.
Yep.
I'm going by myself.
That's good to know.
So that's kind of like where I'm meeting people that I'm not hanging out regularly with. I'm probably not going to call them next week or like ever know their number, but I'm still kind of like learning about them and their life without that attachment of it being like a regular, I have to be there thing.
I love it.
But I think staying attuned to how things are making you feel on your schedule are really important, because that's when you know, I need to shake it up. I don't need to have this thing scheduled. I need to be able to be flexible, or I do need to have it scheduled, vice versa. So just really staying attuned to what you're feeling in your mind and your body.
Do you have any other wisdom for anybody else who's just trying to like figure out what their hobby could be? What might be life-giving for them?
Yeah. I think asking that question, what fires you up?
Yeah.
I think we talked earlier, you said what brings you joy?
Yeah.
And making it simple.
Yeah.
Like you said, taking that 10 minutes to go sketch if you want to try that, or finding something that is already set up for you so you don't have to use your mind power to think about it. When I used to live in Michigan, I didn't know that many people when we first moved there. Michael's Craft Store or Joann Fabrics, one of those had like a knitting class on Friday night or like a cake decorating class. I would just sign up and go to that.
Yeah.
Then you just pay for whatever. All the supplies are there. I was really terrible at knitting, but I still had fun. Yeah. I still got out of my regular routine. So I don't know, look in your community. Is there something that's offered that's set up for you that takes the work out of planning it all for yourself? You just show up to. I think that's huge too. Just trying those things they're not expensive. You can just get out and do it. I think that's really a good way to start.
Okay. I love it. I have a list of hobbies that I asked ChatGPT for. Let's be honest.
I love this.
And I'm going to read them to help maybe draw any ideas out for people who might be listening.
Yeah.
But then I have one follow-up question for you about hobbies, and it's this. I'll read the list first, and then I'd like to hear your thoughts. How do we not turn our hobbies into a business all the time? Or when is that okay? Because I know you and I obviously also both are people who make money from our hobbies. Mm-hmm. So here's the list. Here's what ChatGPT said. Painting, gardening, knitting, cooking, baking, hiking, photography, drawing, pottery, woodworking, running, cycling, yoga, dancing, playing an instrument, journaling, writing fiction or poetry, reading, scrapbooking, sewing, quilting, bird watching.
Oh my, there's so many.
So many. Playing chess, learning a new language, calligraphy, paddleboarding, rock climbing, collecting, fishing, brewing coffee or tea exploration.
Ooh,
yeah. Okay, just from that list, are there any that you haven't tried that you want to?
I really haven't done bird watching. I feel like I would love that.
I literally thought the same thing. I was like, I definitely want to get into bird watching. I would love it. I want to know about birds.
Yeah, they're beautiful and I love birds. I think that would be a great one. I feel like I've tried a lot of those, but I do have the intention of hiking more.
Yeah.
This year, I talked to Tony about it. I really want to be one of these people that travels to places to go hike a specific trail.
Okay. Is there one you have in mind?
I really want to go to Maine. I don't know what the trail is.
Okay.
But we were in Maine last year and I really thought it was beautiful. And I think that's where I got the idea of like, what if we just traveled to these places to go hike a specific trail over a couple of days?
Okay.
The problem is I don't want to camp while I do that.
Ew.
So it would be like a vacation a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really want to, that's just a thing I want to try.
Okay. I would like to get into bird watching. Also, I would like to get into scrapbooking. Ooh, I think who I am is like a little bit of a scrapbooker, but I saw a reel actually around the beginning of the year, and it was one of my favorite home design people to follow. It's Elsie Larson. And she posted a reel and it said like, maybe this is your sign to start a home decor scrapbook. Ooh. And I replied in the comments, like, this was my sign.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
I see that for you. Yeah.
I wanted to do that.
I love that.
That sounded really great. Okay. So how do we not turn every hobby into a profession? And also, is it okay if we do sometimes?
It's 100% okay if we do sometimes. I think I have been the person who has tried to turn a lot of hobbies into like some sort of profession or like a side thing that I'm making money from. Like I used to buy old furniture and this is way back many years ago,
I love knowing
put it together and sell it on Craigslist.
I love knowing
or on Etsy. So my dream for a long time was to do that, to take my hobbies and make it my job, because then I would like it. Yeah. The thing is, sometimes you take your hobby and you make it a job and it becomes like not a fun thing anymore.
This happened for me with exercise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me more.
I mean, I thought like, I love this so much. I should do it.
Yeah.
It was in 2020. I just ran Breaking Free from Body Shame. I had a bar class that I loved that I went to all the time.
Yeah.
The instructors were like, you should totally do this.
Yeah.
I did it. And I was like, oh no, I've monetized the healthiest part of my life.
Yes.
And I don't like just doing this anymore.
Yeah. As someone who also has a fitness certification,
you do.
I think I have tried that exact same thing and then realized maybe I even tried to open a gym. Like I was going to franchise a gym, but I was like, I don't know. Then it took the enjoyment out of it. And that's a very real thing. So I think it is okay to take a hobby and want to share it with others and monetize it and have it be your job. I think just being aware that you can't do that for every hobby you have is really important.
That's good.
I think with my coaching, I'm helping other people lean into hobbies.
Yes.
And so I do find that life-giving.
Yeah.
But I think you'll know when you start to make a plan if that is the thing.
What it might be a helpful question is, before you monetize this, will you still have time to do it and margin to do it on your own just for you?
That's a very good question to think about.
Because that's what I would say about writing. Like, because I've heard people say in the past, like I was actually talking to somebody a couple of years ago and she was like, I love taking photos, but I don't want it to be my full-time job because I don't want to suck the joy out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, writing in some ways is my full-time job and I love writing.
Yeah.
It's never sucked the joy out of it. The difference is I write every single morning just for me.
Yeah.
And I make time, and I have time to do that.
Yeah.
So there's parts of it that are always still just for me.
Yeah.
I
think that is a good question to ask. Will I still have time to do this just for me?
Or same with Bible teaching. Like, same, like, I don't feel like the joy has ever been sucked out of it because I have time and I make time to read the Bible and it's not for public consumption. It's not only like what I'm going to teach other people. So like if you, for example, made art a hobby that you are also going to monetize, do you have time to also just still make art for you?
Right. Because if you don't, I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because I think if you have time to do it for yourself, it's going to fuel you in your business as well and who you're sharing it with. But if you don't have time, you're just not going to be able to do it the way that you want. And it's not going to become life-giving and it will suck the joy out of it.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of time, we're going to end on this. How do we make time for hobbies? So I have a few practical strategies for me. I mean, I'm just a schedule girl.
Yeah.
I'm a time block girl.
Yes.
So again, Nikki mentioned the ideal week. In the show notes today, we'll put a link to the ideal week PDF that I've created. That's what our team uses to kind of block out like, okay, what do we think we want our week to look like? But I would say like, you are probably gonna have to schedule it. And that doesn't mean that it's not still life-giving or restful. And then I think starting small is really like 10 minutes is okay.
Yes.
For example, I said today, I got back into running today. I literally only ran a mile. Yeah. That was it. Like I'm just dipping my toe in.
Yeah.
Also because I know my tendency to burn out on running.
It's real.
But also combining hobbies with community or family time, if that's life-giving for you. Yep. Any other tips that you would encourage people toward?
I think scheduling it, like you said, is a really good way to start because eventually you won't have to schedule it anymore. I think I had to schedule that time in for so long. And now I know
Yeah.
Saturdays are when Tony and I do something. So it's less like I have to have this thing on the calendar. I think starting small, I think finding something that you can jump into that you don't have to purchase a whole bunch of things or whatever, that you can just show up to, is a big one too. And then that community piece, whether it's people you know or people you don't know and you're just going by alone, you're going to meet people, and being with other people kind of fuels you to keep doing those things.
So good. Okay. Because we want to resource you well, because we want to send you well, because we want to be hobby girls, we have made a little worksheet for you to help you find the right hobby for you. If you're just getting started, it is going to take you just a couple minutes. It's going to be really fun. You're going to be able to access Desire. You will see a link to that in the show notes to how to get that. But spoiler alert, if you join my Substack community, the paid version of my Substack community, that's how you're going to get that. Plus just a short little video telling you how to use the Find Your Hobby worksheet. And I think it's going to really help you. Nikki, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so grateful that you're a hobby girl. Thank you for leading. Thank you for leading me in this.
Yeah, well.
May we all be healthier and happier.
That's right.
And have better illness outcomes.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, we love you guys. God is mighty in you. Let's go. Friends, I'm so grateful you listened to today's episode. Thanks for spending time with me. It would mean the world to me to connect with you. So you can send me a DM on Instagram at Jess A. Connolly, or head to my website, jessconnolly.com, for more ways to connect. If you have a minute to subscribe and leave a review of the podcast wherever you listen, it would massively help us reach more people with the good news that they can live fully awake. Let's go.